Oh no, I didn't. Okay, that was a total accidental click, and I was trying to go down. I'm just losing all my brain is fried from Tortured
This
Poets.
is the first segment we've recorded tonight.
I know. You would think this is like the last thing that we've recorded.
Recording from New York and Los Angeles, your hosts, Nicole Katz and Briana Klein, are lined up on the grid for this week's Grid Walk. Engines are fired up, ready to broadcast to you every Thursday on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and more. Subscribe, like the video, turn on auto downloads, and leave a review to provide us with a fresh set of tires. Today, Grid Walk will take pit stops at...
Welcome to a jam-packed, massive Miami GP themed episode of Grid Walk. There is so much to get to today, so apologies if this episode is extra long, but also not apologies, because every single segment we talk about today is a gem, because the Miami GP brings so much excitement and buzz and media coverage to F1 that there's just too much to talk about. And we even kept everything that would have been in a gossip grid to save for an extra long gossip grid after the GP. So that even aside, today you get a podium from us of both of our favorite Miami GP merch lines, because every F1 team dropped something, so we give you what our favorites are. F1 launched a USA-specific broadcast channel, so we're going to tell you our thoughts on it and if it's a good strategy for growing F1 further in the United States. Speaking of marketing and business strategies, the Miami GP made a huge shift in how they are advertising and getting people to come to the race this year versus the first 2 years of the race. So we break that down and what Guenther Steiner means for the marketing of the Miami GP. Boy, did they utilize him a ton. Also, Lewis Hamilton was within reach of Nicole Katz in New York City with Mercedes and WhatsApp, and they did an entire Empire State Building launch. Basically, Lewis Hamilton got to drive a car down a street in New York City. So we freak out about that a little bit. We'll talk about it seriously, but we also just freak out about how cool it is. There's a small Adrian Newey update, but just a reminder that we get into the full details of that in our bonus episode. But we'll also give you the update on the latest news of how Adrian Newey is definitely going to go to Ferrari, for sure. Yes? Yeah? Yeah? We're all going to be delusional together until we hear otherwise. Of course, we had to talk about Ferrari and blue, because that's definitely Ferrari's color, right? If you're not watching on YouTube, Nicole's shaking her head at me.
No.
But so we're going to talk about all our thoughts and feelings about Ferrari going blue for the weekend. We give you our Miami GP predictions. But also, this is an F1 Academy weekend. So are you tired of hearing me list everything we talk about? Well, we're only halfway through it because we have to talk about everything F1 Academy. So we give you our F1 Academy draft. We're going to talk about Susie's media tour, the Wildcard entry, as well as the activations that F1 Academy is doing at the Miami GP itself. And of course, we're going to view our mini crash course in case you forgot, because it's been a couple weeks since the first race. So we're going to make sure you know everything you need to know to be able to watch the race this weekend. Because in addition to supporting F1, we are big fans of supporting everything going on in F1 Academy. I need to take a deep breath, because guess what? I didn't even mention that Taylor Swift might be going to the Miami GP. So, panic, 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 panic. And with that very lengthy list of everything we're going to be talking about on this week's episode of Grid Walk, take it away, voiceover man.
It's lights out and away we go on this week's Grid Walk.
Whee! Okay, so I don't like to get amped up about rumors about things, about people going to places and certain things, but if we just want to play for a second that this is reality and this is really, really cool, I can't keep my cool about it. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce may attend the Miami Grand Prix with Patty Mahomes and Brittany Mahomes and whatever. Taylor Swift goes on the grid. I could see her with Lewis, and then she has to watch the race from Alpine's garage. There's just a lot of things. This is a lot of things. I have a lot of feelings, and I can't process her being in this place of all places. And we joked about it, and I'm not processing her being in my space and that and the stuff.
I am warning the world that if we get a photo of Taylor Swift and Lewis Hamilton, I will be able to hear Nicole scream in New York City from Los Angeles. Like, I am across the country. I will be able to hear it as if she is next to me. This photo will become Nicole's entire personality for the foreseeable future. Rightfully so. I will have a fangirl meltdown as well, but I just, like, it will
My
not match
entire
yours.
set would change. Like, every photo would just become that photo. And yes, I know that they have met before, but I needed it in the day and age of our
Well, we have
savior,
one
Taylor
photo.
Allison Swift. Right.
So they've
Still.
met once. There's one photo. I believe
Still
there's
exists.
another person in between them in the photo too. So it's not just like a Lewis next to Taylor Swift photo.
No, I need it. And also the Miami GP. So many magical, beautiful things can just happen at this. Some of my favorite, people were like, haha, the Fernando Alonso reunion of it all. I was like, stop this.
No.
But my favorite thing was Swiftie Twitter today was like, okay, hold on. We just learned football. And now you're telling me that we're going to have to start understanding like motorsports too? This is a lot of lore that I didn't know that I was signing up for when I listened to Teardrops My Guitar in 2006. And I was like, buckle up, Swifties. Welcome to the party. It's really great and it's really fun.
If you need a F1 podcast to learn about Formula One, there is one and it's named Gridwalk, and we reference Taylor Swift at least once an episode.
100%, if not more. Yeah. And there's a lot of things, and people making a big deal about like her and Super Bowl and Tokyo and all these types of places. And yes, she does have to be in Paris next week. And guess what? If they're on the West Coast right now, or even in Kansas City, then Miami's in between. It's a little pit stop in Miami and then going to Paris. She's fine. All is fine. She could definitely go. I can't even fathom this rumor being a thing. This entire race weekend will just become about her presence there for me, and I'm not sorry about it.
For most people.
Yeah.
It's also not, this is not a goofy, silly rumor. Like, this is something that's rumored and being talked about by decently sized, reputable outlets. We wouldn't be talking about this on the podcast right now if it was, Susie Lee on TikTok predicting it. Like, no. This is actually being reported on as something happening. And if you forgot, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes are Alpine investors, which is why Nicole said that they're going to watch from the Alpine garage. But I will point out that the last time Travis Kelce went to a race, it was 2 years ago, Miami, and he went and sat in the Mercedes garage and did meet Lewis Hamilton. So really, as you can see, all we care about is getting a photo of Taylor Swift and Lewis Hamilton. And I don't think that's out of the question, because you know what happens? Everyone goes to the Miami GP, gets other teams to pay for their tickets, and then goes and seeks out Lewis. So I don't know why this would be any different.
Yeah, it's a lot of worlds colliding in my brain all at once, between it being Miami and Hard Rock Stadium and a place that I have spent many of an hours, to also F1 and to also Taylor Swift, and to all of it coming together in one place that I will not be at physically, but I will be in every other way, spiritually, mentally, just not physically.
Taylor just needs to check out Hard Rock Stadium before she's there in October.
Right, exactly. She's just like warming it up for us a little bit, and then she can be like, wow, I can't wait to come back here. Yeah, this is crazy. I'll be on Taylor watch. This is, my NFL Sundays have got me prepped for this. For now, just seeing when and where she's attending certain sporting events. Crazy.
There are very few names and celebrities in the world that we would do this and care about this or scream about it this way. We're doing an entire segment on this because it's Taylor Swift.
Do you think they'll go on the fake boats?
Please. My goodness, yes.
And that would be such a security hazard. It's so just like in the middle of everything and all things, but who knows? She went to Coachella, so.
Yeah. What do you think it would be like if we got a video of Esteban Ocon meeting Taylor Swift?
Nope, I thought about that today too, and I filed that under ideas that I can't think about.
Things that
oh my god, I hope
work.
he has his Travis Kelce jersey. They're gonna break out their jerseys. I can't do it. That's crazy. This is just the possibility of her attending and things. And I could talk about the implications of that forever, but that would be formative thoughts. And if you just don't know who Taylor Swift is and the implications of her doing anything and going anywhere, then like, wow, You live under a rock. I can't. I need these rumors to be real so bad. This is just Tifty to Lewis, Tifty to Mercedes, Tifty to WhatsApp. Thanks for the invite, Tifty. No?
Oh. Wow, I feel like an old lady.
Maybe. You just made me feel really young. Well, thanks for the invite to all of these people, except I didn't get one, because how can there have been a major Mercedes WhatsApp launch event that involves Lewis Hamilton driving down Fifth Avenue in New York City and this not be advertised until it's, like, happening? And not even advertised, just like, surprise!
Right. I was screaming about it when I woke up this morning. Like, Nicole, Lewis Hamilton's going to be driving an F1 car down. I really don't understand that. But first, can we talk about how cool it is that WhatsApp and Mercedes had an event at the top of the Empire State Building where then they lit the Empire State Building up with a whole, like, Mercedes emoji themed video, because that was incredible and so cool.
Yeah, the Empire State Building always does really incredible partnerships, but they have happened just like very recently within the last like 2 years or so, lean into the like projected art thing, very Disney World. Like I remember first seeing with like Stranger Things, and then they just did it with the Star Wars, and then not on my bingo card was going to be a Mercedes F1, emoji projected artwork on the Empire State Building. But here I am stamping that off. That was so sick, so cool. Toto and Lewis getting to light the building for WhatsApp is always like a really fun like marketing activation. Like, who's gonna turn the lights on the building?
They clearly wanted this to be covered. So going back to your original point, because they invited a ton of media to the event and content creators and journalists and all these people. So I don't want anyone to take this as us salty for not getting an invitation, because that's not what this is about. I just don't understand why you surprise do a show run. The purpose and the cool thing about a show run is that people can see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm salty in just the fact of I live in New York and would have loved to have known.
You were in New York City while this was happening.
Yeah, crazy thing. Just West Side, East Side problems. It very interesting. Just like the selection of wanting this to be known and things, but just like not much of the lead up before. That's confusion, because that's obviously takes some planning. When
Red Bull does events, we know about them 6 months in advance. Mm-hmm. And if you're in that city, you can go see the show run. What is the point of running, like doing all that work to run the Mercedes car to shut down a Fifth Avenue in New York City?
Yeah. You think WhatsApp and Mercedes would want? I mean, and there was plenty of people there. I mean, there's always people out and about and anything. Maybe they were worried it was going to be too many people. I don't know.
I'm so confused. I'm genuinely so confused by the marketing thought process behind this, where they could have turned this into this massive big deal and event. Do you know how much money it costs to shut down a street in New York City?
Yeah, and they also have to, fly a F1 car around, get this WhatsApp emoji F1 car made, like, not
which
that
is
would
so cool,
cool and adorable, but like you're not gonna advertise this. I'm sure there's gonna be like plenty of sick content afterwards that maybe that's where they're putting like all of the return on, but I just feel like
do all the stuff.
What?
Yeah. This whole thing confused me, and that took away from how cool I thought it was, where I'm like, oh yeah, this is so cute. You have Lewis Hamilton doing donuts on a street in New York City next to a little emoji car that they built and invested in, which, by the way, all the jokes on social media about how those are Mercedes Miami GP upgrades, and or that they should just bring that car and it will be faster than the Mercedes car on track to the Miami GP. Funny, very funny. Like, round of applause to everyone, because those were great. Really made my day. But they clearly cared and invested a lot in this activation. Like, wouldn't they want people to be able to create hype for them? Mercedes keeps having this problem, in my opinion, that's like, they care too much about either surprise or exclusivity, where it's like, oh, we're creating this exclusive event we invited people to that they have to keep quiet about it. And then, but you know what would actually create more mass marketing hype? Is allowing fans to hype things up.
But
imagine if we heard about this 3 days ago and then we all got to like freak out about it. And then you could reorganize when your lunch is and take off work and be there. And like, it would have turned something that was like, whoa, that's cool, that we're now all going to forget about very quickly, into this big event that we lead up to.
Yep, but instead it just kind of like, surprise, here it is, it's happening right now, and okay,
Right.
that's it.
Nicole, Lewis Hamilton's like down the street from you. Congratulations.
Nope, that's not information that I ever want to just learn that way. And I expect more from Mercedes, and I expect more from WhatsApp, and I just, what?
Not to make this an exclusively grumpy segment, because admittedly this is really cool, but it seems like having Lewis Hamilton as part of your team, almost as a what do you call it, a brand ambassador, is kind of valuable. Because I was really surprised that Mercedes was doing this massive activation and they didn't have the driver that they want to be their brand ambassador there. I wonder why.
Yeah.
It's almost like Lewis Hamilton would be a good face or ambassador for their brand.
And if only that was in discussion or pitched or things, or maybe, who knows, but very weird to see which drivers were places and which were not places. I hate watching like games like this where I just like, this could just be the end of one of my favorite seasons of sports, and I just don't know. But I know, but I don't know. Although, to be fair, I thought I knew on Saturday, and it was not over.
I'm just glad that it didn't end with you in the building.
Yeah, no, it's.
You got to see
glad.
that incredible goal.
Yeah.
So.
I have to hold on to that. You're so right. Thank you for that perspective. Oh, they scored! Oh my god! I need everything to stop happening while we're recording. Jesus, it's fine.
I'm assuming
Brock
you meant
Nelson.
the Islanders score.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things that we love, and top of that list is merchandise, especially special edition merchandise. And every single year for the Miami Grand Prix, F1 teams and drivers will sometimes do limited edition merch drops. So this podium is our favorites thus far. Maybe there'll be some by the time, some extras that we haven't had yet. But these are the ones capitalizing on when it's the most important. So the Miami GP merchandise, some of our favorites.
In P3.
Williams. So I feel like this is a hot take to have Williams in this spot because it's such a small collection. However, the ice cream vibes are so unbelievably strong. And this pinstripe hat, I am obsessed with it. It's so, so cute.
I will reserve all of my words.
In P3.
Specific items from Red Bull. Okay, I know this is shocking, but Red Bull put tiny little pink palm trees on dad hats, which I really, really love. And I hate that I love it because I really hate Red Bull. And I wouldn't buy it, but if I actually liked Red Bull, I would be obsessed with it and I would buy it, if that makes sense. And more importantly, they have this woven shirt that looks like a, I'm blanking on the word.
A guayabera?
Yes, thank you. Sorry. I don't know why my brain just short-circuited.
Because you just put a Red Bull item on your podium. That's why. I feel like I need to send like a wellness check to your residence. You good?
Yes, I know, but like the shirt is actually cool. Yeah. It's so cool. Would I buy it personally? No, because I really just like Red Bull. And I think walking around in Red Bull merch signals that you're a certain kind of person right now that I would not like to be. But the line is that those two elements of the line are worthy of a P3.
Yeah, the tiny flamingos. Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're so cute and small and pink.
Mm-hmm.
In P2.
Mercedes. I need this hat more than I need oxygen.
I think you need to clarify which of the two hats you're talking about, though, because one child got special treatment.
Yeah, okay, the Lewis, piece of artwork, rainbow, colorful. I have never seen a hat as beautiful as this hat. It's a work of art. there's no other way to describe it besides it. I mean, the rest of the line is also absolutely fantastically designed and fits the Miami vibe without having to do Miami Vice, which I always love of finding a way to do it. And color, leaning into color, different use of color. Whew, it's just fantastic collab.
I will say more words when I get to that part of my podium.
In P2.
The Williams hat. So the ice cream shirt is cute, but this like pale green striped hat is honestly, I think, the coolest piece of Williams merch we've seen in the last 2 years. Like, it is Miami, but it is not Miami Vice. It is, the ice cream is so cute, but I would buy that hat. I would 100% hands down, here, take my money. I'd buy that hat.
I want more merch based off that hat.
Yes, I want that hat in different colorways. Like, the stripes are just cool and fun. Imagine it in, like, we have the green stripes, but, like, a pale pink, a pale yellow. Like, you can do this whole, like, pastel line with the hat. The hat is so cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. F1.
Wait, Nicole, you didn't hit the NP1.
I pressed. Oh my god!
Are you okay?
Really have clearly not. My brain is so like I don't know how to do podiums.
Since I probably cut out the first part of this. This is like the third time Nicole's brain has like hit the wrong button on the soundboard. This is so great. All right, hold on. Here, ready?
NP1.
I'm so sorry. I totally have myself composed.
NP1.
F1's Miami GP football jersey. And that's when that sound is supposed to play. Okay, I feel that the Miami GP merch has grown and evolved really, really well. And every time there's an American race, usually used to be like Austin, we're going to get so many football jerseys. And Miami's now become like the football jersey place because it's at Hard Rock Stadium. And there's some attempts
which is where the Miami Dolphins and Miami Hurricanes play football. Sorry, context for
context. So right, go Canes.
We attended the University of Miami, both lived in Miami for many years. Like, there's like a unique part of our brain that just knows this stuff, and I have to understand that most people don't.
Right. No, that's very important context to have. So for races like these, I always love to see what teams and organizations really nail the jersey and which ones don't. And I really love this F1 attempt at a jersey. Also, when F1 can do like an extended merch line really well that incorporates like all genders, but the white jersey, the 50 for the 1950 Drivers' Championship starting, like it just really great Easter eggs, beautiful color combo, enough nod to Miami and also just like American NFL football. Yeah. Cool stuff. Big fan.
It didn't end up on my podium, but it was something I wrote down as an honorable mention because it was a fun line. Mm-hmm. But
NP1.
The Puma Mad Dog Jones Mercedes collab, with the exclusion of the George Russell hat that doesn't actually belong in the collab. The whole rest of the collab. But yeah, specifically that Lewis hat, the sweatshirt that matches the Lewis hat, like this, Mad Dog Jones does incredible art. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll put up on the screen the helmet he designed for Lewis a couple years ago for Silverstone. Like, this was just, honestly, it's Lewis Hamilton bringing in his art friends and giving great creative direction at its peak. Like, when he gets to do fun artistic work for Mercedes, and I can't wait until he gets to do this for Ferrari, it's the best lines come out of it.
Yeah, it's crazy that, and at the time we haven't seen like a fully what the plus 44 drop is, but this feels like a plus 44 drop. Like it is, it's like the Mad Dog Jones vibe was so screaming of like, this is Lewis energy, like going out with a bang on it, and all of it just cohesively together. It's so funny. The George hat seems like it's like color but less like Duke. Oh, it's gonna be the same, it's gonna be my blue. Ooh, the Mercedes is a different color. And then like Lewis's is like, here is every color in the world and we're gonna make it all do the thing. Like, it is,
it really gave either oh crap, we actually have to do something for George too. Or George saying, I want to be included, but I don't like that. Like, it was like, can I be in the line? Because it looks like a different artist did that.
Can we just make the Mercedes a different color? Because then it's a little bit different.
But you mentioned something that...
A bonus mention because Briana struggled to make a decision.
The Plus 44 space line that is coming out this week, the teaser that we got, which is just the top half of a shirt that's going to have Lewis's face on it, like, I felt like that should already be on my podium, but we haven't actually seen the full line yet at the point of recording this, so it felt wrong to put it on the podium. But it looks really cool. And I don't think I felt like Lewis has missed on a line yet for Plus 44, and I'm excited that it's back.
Yes, no, I'm very excited for it to be back. And it coming during Miami sets, again, that certain energy of, of certain vibe. It's going to be very out of this world is what it looks like. So I'm excited to see it.
A bonus mention because Nicole couldn't pick.
I got to give a call out to Steak on this one. Steak did Miami GP merch. It was not lime green to fit this Miami vibe of like a white and a light pink. And it was like kind of like Red Bull did it, but kind of the right way. Like they did a little, I wanted Steak to do a little more. Like you did it. Just do a little more there. But
they
there
did
was
something.
Promise there. They did something.
My teams that I wrote on the shout out for doing something, it's better than nothing. Aston Martin did like this like watery print, which was better than like they just took their normal merch last year and made it like neon yellow. So like they did something. So shout out to them. And also Haas for the first time did something. So I'll put those all in the Steak category of like not on my podium, but like you did a thing.
See, but here's the thing. Haas made like the baseball hats and the bucket hats with this, and I have to know if like when you have an event in the city of Miami, is there just like an open PNG file to whatever that Miami logo is? Because it's on everything. I literally have that Miami logo on a keychain that I bought in the airport, not related to F1 at all. There is this, and it's used all the time on absolutely everything. It feels like everyone ripped off the Heat logo when they try to do Miami Vice on things.
Yeah, 100%. No, I think the Haas merch is ugly and not good, but this is the first time I've ever seen Haas, like, do a thing. Like, it took Haas years to just put out merch, period. And the fact that they now have a Miami line in time for the Miami GP weekend?
Right, it's not after the fact.
Congratulations, Haas. Like, that's all I'm saying here. They did a thing. Like, that's why they're in my you did something category. Like, congratulations. You did more than the bare minimum.
And Ferrari doesn't even have space for this space. We can put that in our marketing.
Yeah, hold on. Before we talk about Ferrari, because we should talk about Ferrari.
This is its own thing. Exactly.
1 second. Hold on.
A bonus mention because Gridwalk struggles with self-editing.
I do want to call out that McLaren's like sketch bucket hat is not my style, but very cool and already sold out because people love it. So it deserves the honorable mention that it's really cool merch, even though it's not my style. Therefore, that's why it's not on my podium.
Yeah, I felt the same. Also felt like I was like, oh, it's just, hats and not on their official website, which is why I was like, okay. But yeah, it was a cool attempt.
We put out an extra Gridwalk episode, and last week we did a complete Adrian Newey once out of Red Bull reaction show. We also snuck in there Nico Hulkenberg is going to Steak/Audi and leaving Haas reaction, as well as some F1 Academy news. So since we've recorded that, there's been a little bit more reporting that it seems like the timeline we discussed in that episode briefly is actually even sooner. It seems like there's just been more doubling down that Newey wants out of Red Bull, that his lawyers are in discussion with Red Bull, and that he might be able to join a team and help them on a car as soon as the 2026 car, which is a year earlier than the fastest timeline we even thought. So we're not going to sit here and talk a ton more about this because there is an entire Gridwalk episode devoted to us mostly screaming about how fun it would be if Newey went to Ferrari. So after you finish listening to this Miami GP spectacular preview episode, etc., go hear all of our thoughts about the Ferrari super team that's being built. It wasn't even a full 12 hours from when we recorded that segment to when we got the official full announcement from Red Bull that Newey will be leaving, which means we do have a timeline. So quickly to update you, Adrian Newey will be leaving Red Bull in what they described as the first quarter of next year, so 2025, and he won't have any gardening leave, which means that he could join a new F1 team as soon as the start of next season, which means that he could play a role in that team's 2026 car development, which notably is the start of the new regulation set. It's said that he's going to spend the rest of this year working on completing Red Bull's first hypercar project. But it seems like he will mostly be stepping away from any kind of active development on any other F1 project, even though they did mention that he would be trackside at various races still. Everything we said on our bonus episode is still very relevant, even more relevant because there are now even bigger swirling rumors that he will be joining Ferrari. So no formal update on his next steps, but it is official. Adrian Newey is leaving Red Bull. All right, I'm going to go back to my editing dungeon now so you all get this episode on time. So Ferrari decided to be blue.
You jump scare me. I'm recording all the time.
Ferrari decided to be blue this weekend. And I just need everyone to know that at this point of recording, we have not seen that full livery yet. I'm sure by the time we put this episode out, the livery will be out. I'm sure because we're recording right now, that as soon as I get up tomorrow to edit this episode, the livery will be out. And if that's the case, it's now on the screen on the YouTube video. Yay. So we're not going to be talking about the livery. I think we just need to talk about how hard Ferrari has gone with their marketing and PR to try to convince us that this is not weird.
Yeah, you having to say to me, Ferrari's always been blue. Like, no, Ferrari's red. Ferrari's is red. And then even now when they're trying to show me like historical pictures and it's mostly like a red car with some blue, I'm like, okay, look, I'm all about going for this Miami vibe and that's really fun. And if you want to lean into like historic, cool. But don't tell me that the Ferrari red is blue. Because it's not blue. One of your colors is not blue. You do a lot of branding and brainwashing and a lot of like throwing it in our faces always and forever. And I love it. And it's what I respect about it. You're not blue. There was never blue. You are red.
Well, it was apparently blue exclusively in North America for a very short period of time. And while that is a really cool story, and I love the idea that this livery is built out of a history of Enzo Ferrari being a really petty man. And that's hysterical. My true, at my core issue with this is twofold. It's the marketing of like, I think it's kind of missing the mark. Like, you got to lean into the petty. Don't try to convince me that this is one of your colors. Mm-hmm. But it really is. We have enough blue liveries on the grid. We have too many blue liveries on the grid. I have loved that we've had a couple of liveries that are not blue and black. I don't want to watch another blue car go around in circles this weekend. That doesn't sound fun. There are too many blue liveries.
Rewind back to our car launch rankings and livery rankings, and we're just like, just don't be blue. Just don't be blue and don't be all carbon fiber. It's not asking for a lot. And here you go. And you just knew that Ferrari was going to like really hit the nail on the head because they're red. Lots of red. And they teased yellow, which is not carbon fiber and it's not blue. And here we go in Miami. Blue. The race suits, race suits, I'm kind of excited for though. They're great. We've traded in the minions. We are now Smurfs. Only Smurf energy in Miami.
I love the names on the back.
So fun. That sold me on that entirely. The merch translation. I am bummed. I am disappointed. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed because there was an opportunity because the merch itself is a beautiful blue color. That's like, could have been very fun. Instead, it looks like a sad attempt at a Guayabera. And I understand it's supposed to be like mechanic Kari, but like, I don't know.
So do you remember last season when we talked about the baseball jerseys and we hated them because all Ferrari did was change their team kit into being cut like a baseball jersey. They did the same thing with this shirt. Ferrari needs to stop just turning their team kit into like a different cut of shirt.
What if we took our team kit and we put it on something else? Okay,
that's
now
all
we're
they
gonna
do.
take our team kit and we're gonna put it on something else.
What's that meme from?
It's SpongeBob.
Thank you.
We're gonna take Bikini Bottom and we're gonna move it somewhere else.
Yes, thank you. My brain wasn't, the neural pathways were not connecting.
No, see, I can do that. I don't know how to do a podium for the 100th time in my entire life, but I can cite you a SpongeBob reference.
Ferrari can make these team kit duplications, but give me something else to buy too. The fact that this is just consistently the only merch option is so infuriating.
Catch us complaining about this next year, but hopefully Lewis will give us some kind of shake up there and we'll get some kind of like Mac Dog Jones, Ferrari, something. It's going to be interesting to see what we get out of that.
At least we'll get plus 44. Like, I never am going to feel like I have a shortage of Lewis Hamilton things to buy, even if Ferrari lets me down. So in the last week, F1 has announced a new Formula One channel, which they have described as a 24/7 subscription-free streaming channel for fans exclusively in the USA to watch race replays for both F1 and the feeder series, highlights, reruns of classic Grand Prix, and other documentaries and content that F1 makes. Now, I had a lot of immediate thoughts and feelings about this. My first instant reaction was, how are they going to differentiate this for the casual fan that is not us with F1 TV products? Because we're crazy. I'm not going... I try not to use myself as the fan barometer for the average F1 fan in America, where I need to watch everything live. But a free channel that is going to show the race a couple days later, I could just hear like my dad being like, yeah, I'll just tune in there.
Yeah.
What were your reactions?
My immediate reaction, and it may be just like kind of like super out of left field, was my brain goes, okay, so if they're having like ESPN has the TV rights and live racing rights or whatever, like in the US. Mm-hmm. And if F1 is going to the trouble of creating an additional space of streaming service, well, like, okay, so was there some type of maybe like conversation with like Disney and Disney Plus that like on what side certain, like on either side, maybe it just like didn't seem to connect? Because it just feels really weird to that you're already having a connection to some giant media conglomerate where you're showing it live that has ways of doing it, you know, have different streaming ways, whether it was something via ESPN Plus or like, right. Just, it seems so disconnected that it's going to be hard to get either, you know, the person that watches F1 things from like Sports Center or just getting it like casually that way to then be like, oh yeah, you can now watch it for free a couple days later, and like getting them to move from like one place to another when it's like, okay, the same channel also replays it. So now is ESPN like not going to replay it on the same day or like next day or right. like later on? Like it just feels like there's such a disconnect there that it's also like hanging in the balance of, okay, if maybe ESPN is not our end game goal and we are obviously going to try to move somewhere else once this deal goes, we just have this like floppy free streaming service that we created on our own that can either get turned into another one or just get chucked away as we just get incorporated into another platform.
Yeah. You hit on two really important points to me. One is it is incredibly difficult to get an audience to move. If you build an audience in one platform in one place, it is so hard to get that audience to then pick up a new habit and move to somewhere else. So if the casual average US F1 watcher is watching F1 through ESPN, getting them to open up this separate app in their Roku, on their Samsung TV to watch, even if it's other content, that's a completely different action than their usual F1 consuming action. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing you hit on that I think was really smart is they have this relationship with ESPN where ESPN is paying a lot of money to own these rights. It is shocking to me that they're willing to give away items on this list that I would think would be valuable things they can sell. Mm-hmm. And clearly they've decided that the cost benefit of potential new fans through this free service is better than being able to sell and package the exclusive rights to rerun classic Grand Prix, for example. Or it seems like they're going to be taking some of the F1 TV content that I really value paying for, like Jolyon Palmer's race breakdowns, and they're going to be putting it on this channel for free. So now it's also devaluing the subscription for F1 TV, which, by the way, they just increased on me this year. So I'm a little personally annoyed at that. I mean, I'm not going to stop paying for F1 TV because I like that I can use F1 multi-viewer. Right. But it's annoying. So I think that we were talking about this in the context of something else recently, but my third point to add on to those two really good points you made is it feels behind the curve. Having a unique dedicated streaming channel, that was something that was trendy 5 or 6 years ago. And now we're seeing the trend going where streaming platforms are having to merge together because it's just not sustainable as a business model anymore. It is not a way that it seems like users want to consume by having 7 million apps for different streaming services. So it just, I don't know. I don't see it actually as a way to grow fans in America.
Nope. I don't at all. The being able to go back and watch, old races I see is like one of the most like valuable pieces of it, which I just don't necessarily
of F1 TV.
Yeah, right. And if now we're also able to go and do this on this new platform as well, I'm kind of it's something that I like to go back to watch, like sort of like my favorite races or anything sort of like that. So I feel like when you're having, people come in, it's going to be like not as strong of a selling point. And I struggle to then see how, if it's like the fan that maybe wants to watch the race 4 days later, right now is not the era for watching a race 4 days later. It's, it's great. It's the era of watching like the 30-minute highlights after probably, but there's not going to be like, you need to see every single second breakdown. Yeah, we've had like the bits and pieces of it. So it's also just like an awkward time for like, what is the content and structure of this app?
Yeah. No, I think the other interesting thing about this press release that's separate, that's worth talking about a little bit, is we got F1's new figure and estimation for how many US F1 fans there are, which is they estimate that there's a fan base of over 42 million people. Now, for some context, the average race right now in the US on ESPN, ABC, wherever they place it, is getting about 1 million viewers. Now, we're coming off a string of races that were in the middle of the night, so they were significantly less than 1 million viewers. I'm sure Miami is going to have a little bit more, but F1's most viewership in a race weekend is about 2 million, and they normally peak at Miami every year at about 2 million. So I have my own theories, but where do you think they get that 42 million?
Is there that many people also paying for F1 TV? Like, is that really?
No,
that's not possible. I can't figure out. What is that? Are they tracking people watching in bars? I have no idea. I cannot figure out where that number is coming from at all.
I think that they're totaling up how many followers that Lewis Hamilton has on social media. No, I think they're totaling the team and F1's. I think there's a big social media chunk following. If I was them, I would be taking social viewership plus search volume, like people Googling. You can get those numbers. Because actually that 42 million is a lot less than Lewis Hamilton's social media followers. Yeah. But I do think it's a slightly... it's one of those numbers that I read and I'm like, yes, this is an F1 press release. If you actually asked an unbiased body with the number, it would be significantly less. So it'd be
like, yeah, definitely so much less than this, but this is an F1 press release. So it's good insight to see where they think, the group is. But Yeah, it's...
I don't even think they think that's where it is. That's like, how big of a number can we put out to make it look impressive without, but if someone fact checked us, they wouldn't think we're silly, is kind of what I think it is. But it's, how do I phrase this? I think I like F1, seeing F1 do things with the clear intention of trying to grow their US fan base. So offering free content is a way to do that. I don't particularly love this execution choice, but I like to see that their solution isn't just Drive to Survive forever, because that's not working anymore.
Yeah, finding alternative types of content and having that be accessible, but I don't know. It felt like a little bit like too late to this. Like, it felt like it should have been like this and then Drive to Survive, and like then like this, or definitely this
simultaneously.
Feels, all at the same time, to then be people being like, oh, they're talking about, Danny, Rick, and Monaco, and like then you can go back and like watch this, or like anything kind of like that seemed like it would have gone very well.
I'm also thinking like, if we were in the boom of 2021 or even 2020, Drive to Survive first came out in 2020, F1's fan base is starting to grow and explode in the US. If it was like, hey, you're watching Drive to Survive, go watch this other channel where you can see all these races. Like, if that was happening simultaneously, versus now it feels like we're on a downturn. Mm-hmm. Interest isn't growing anymore. At best, it's flat. And now, so like, I don't
look at this. Look at how it sometimes could be, but it's just not like how it is right now.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it doesn't feel like a growth strategy. It feels like they're cannibalizing current customers, mm-hmm. and that's why I don't like this. But I like that F1 is trying to grow. I just wouldn't recommend this strategy.
I agree.
It's been a while, but F1 Academy is back for their second race weekend, and I'm very excited. We have been talking about various news through many different episodes. So if there's something to talk about for F1 Academy, we're putting it in the Gridwalk episode. Most recently, our bonus episode that we did on Adrian Newey, we also did a segment in there to talk about everything F1 Academy and American Express with that big announcement. But there's a couple of things that have happened since that bonus episode that we want to talk about going into the Miami GP F1 Academy race weekend. That's a mouthful. I had to pause and make sure I got that right. Starting with Susie Wolff has essentially been on a New York City focused press tour talking about the F1 Academy and all of the initiatives around getting more female involvement in motorsports. She was on CBS Mornings. We've seen hints and previews that she's done interviews with Bloomberg and Fortune magazine. So she's essentially on this big press tour, which is exciting. It's honestly more press than a lot of the F1 teams are doing.
Yeah, part of my favorite thing when F1 circles into the US is all of the press that happens normally leading up to, or if not immediately following whatever happens, and it's going to be in the major cities like LA and New York. So that's where we're going to be seeing like a lot of drivers and F1 personnel in general be doing those circuits. And it's so exciting to see Susie doing any sort of major support and press circuits in New York, particularly like having her on CBS in the morning talking about F1 Academy. And that's like such a morning talk show in your home while, family's having breakfast, and like she's talking about how, kids are going to be able to see a female teenager suit up for a race on Sunday, and like you see it, you believe it. And like having that messaging being such a public forum where they're also talking about like your latest trends and the latest celebrity news, and it's just like such in a public zeitgeist and normal place, is like an incredible advancement for female motorsports to be making right now.
I will continue to be impressed with the press that F1 Academy is doing. The rollout that they did, announcing the drivers, announcing the sponsors, integrating the sponsors, and then we talk all the time that there's a big problem with getting women involved in motorsports, and the biggest problem is getting sponsors, is getting a sponsor to sign on and agree to do it. And all this additional work, like Susie doing a press junket through New York, bringing attention to the F1 Academy, is bringing attention to these drivers, putting eyeballs on them so they hopefully get sponsors and can continue their racing career in other places, backed by the incredible amounts of money it takes to participate in motorsport. So I've always been really worried with a female-only racing series that they're just going to silo them out. And it has been a very conscious effort by Susie Wolff and her team at the F1 Academy to be putting eyeballs on this, getting these women as much attention as possible through F1. Instead of it just being like, yep, we have this series over here. It's like, no, we're using this exposure and Susie Wolff as a personality to put eyeballs on this and get you that brand exposure.
And building it as an entire platform across the board. Like, to your point, if it's not just like, oh, we have the female feeder series and it's over here and it exists. It's like, no, we have this, but it's a stepping stone. It's a mission. It's part of a greater purpose. And their actions are continuing to really reiterate that, which is just makes me feel really good about like the overall like fate and mission of the series.
Yeah. I don't want careers to go to the F1 Academy and just die off. And all this media and press attention they're trying to put there is doing a lot to help prevent that from happening. So it's
it's gonna like keep it alive and bring, I think, like would bring new faces and people to the sport and be like, oh yeah, no, I heard about this and that. Like, it's again access, bringing it into the public zeitgeist.
The other big news is that we got an announcement of the Miami F1 Academy Wildcard entry. So it is going to be Courtney Crone, who's a driver from California. She is 23 currently. She has raced in multiple different disciplines, everything from LMP3 prototypes, sprint cars, motorcycles, and most recently she's in the Lamborghini series, words. Notably, this wildcard entry is being sponsored by the shopping channel QVC, which is continuing the F1 Academy streak of not only ensuring that all the drivers that are participating are getting paired up with sponsorships, providing value both for the series and for these drivers, but also their incredible streak of pairing up with very consumer-focused sponsors who you can tell have a lens of targeting women. I've never seen QVC.
Loves QVC.
Yes, these
shelves are from QVC.
I don't come from a QVC family, but I understand enough about QVC to understand this is not a brand that typically sponsors a motorsports series. The same way that Charlotte Tilbury doesn't typically sponsor a motorsports series. So it's love this special entry.
Yes, it is definitely an out of the box type of sponsor. You're not seeing, QVC sponsoring any other areas of motorsports as of right now. So it's a really interesting like first stepping stone into this space.
And Courtney participated in the testing that they did in Zandvoort a couple weeks ago with F1 Academy. So she's not coming in having never driven this car before, even though this does seem to be her first foray into single seaters. So I really I was skeptical of the wildcard concept when they announced it, but I like that they're using it to help young drivers get exposure, which is the purpose of the F1 Academy. This is the second race, and they've picked a driver who is from the country they're racing in, which I like. And I like that the added layer is that they're getting another sponsor involved, because it all goes back to, can we get these women money? So maybe Courtney is going to build a relationship with QVC and is going to be highly valuable for QVC to be there. And then she might get a long-term partnership, or QVC might sponsor the next up-and-coming female in motorsport. So it's just like the more people we can get involved, the more money we can bring in is great.
So many checks off the list, everyone coming together. It's one of those situations where it's like a lot of cooks in the kitchen and dinner's looking great. I'm really happy about this one.
I've been dying to talk to you about the dramatic shift in the marketing of the Miami Grand Prix. And I am so excited about the direction they took it.
Yeah, they definitely are feeling a little bit of the sting and twang and whatever sour taste in their mouths of ticket sales from the year before, and just kind of seeing that like the vibes they were going with of what this race is and the full-on vibe of it, like we're not hitting the mark of the customers that could be like wanting to attend this race. Like, oh, maybe everything being like, this is glitz glam, everything you need to know in South Beach, when you're in Miami Gardens, like not technically the vibe of a constant customer for this race.
There's collection of Miami information that lives in our brain that I don't think is normal for the average person to understand. And one of those things is how fast Miami moves on from one thing being exciting to the next thing. You have to work so hard to keep someone's attention. So the Miami GP coming in that first year and basing their entire marketing strategy around the glitz and the glam, but also this is the biggest event. You have to be here. Miami trades in being in places that are cool more than any other city. People think it's like LA and New York and like you want to be where the people are. Like, no, it's Miami cares about that the most.
Right.
And so that works really well for 1 year. And then last year, when they tried that again, and there were celebrities and people who showed up, but it was no longer the trendy new cool thing because it was year 2.
And Vegas was coming. And there was sparkly Vegas that we're going to get to talk about in the Vegas.
And it was absurdly expensive to attend the Miami GP. So you can get away with that for 1 year. The second year, it's no longer the shiny new toy. Vegas is the shiny new toy. And their attendance struggled because of that. They struggled to sell tickets. So coming into this year, the first thing I noticed was that they didn't drop their ticket prices. And you and I talked off pod about how if they're going to try to charge that amount, they need to change their marketing strategy this year because you have to be here isn't going to work. The casual person in Miami who bought those tickets that first year because it was the place to be, who doesn't actually like F1.
I was there already, and I could tell you that it's not. You have to create that they're missing something else. They're missing out on something else. It's not just being the place because they've already been to the place at least once.
Right. What I love about the shift they made this year is, and we can go into some of the ways they did this, but for the first time, year 3 of the Miami GP, they decided to market that their target audience for their marketing was going to be F1 fans.
It's crazy. It's
absurd.
Yeah, it's not like people that want to. It seemed like they went from trying to market to the crowd that wants to go to the Kentucky Derby, and like now it's like, oh no, you actually enjoy motorsport racing. Here's a venue where you can do said thing. Like it felt like you were really trying to market different products, and now they're finally marketing the on-track product and not the like off-track.
Hey, you like racing?
Everything.
Come to
then you can
a race
come here and see race.
For 2 years, it was you like to be seen where celebrities are. Come be where celebrities are, and then they were like, "Oh, this isn't working. What if we tell racing fans to come watch racing?"
Mm-hmm.
And I've been loving it. It actually feels like now they've built a sustainable marketing plan where they might actually be able to sell tickets for 10 years. Now, I'm going to be really interested because they made this marketing shift, but they haven't dropped the prices. The reason we're not there right now is not because we don't want to be there. It's because I refuse to spend that amount of money for a GA ticket. It's not happening. I'm not doing it. But
it'd be interesting to see like what, if anything, what we see from our end sort of increased value, or if there's any sort of, additional activations, anything like that. Maybe they will be making a big deal out of like F1 Academy being there. That would be really awesome. Like,
they are. I'll tell you some things in a later segment. So everyone keep listening because we have a segment coming later where I'm going to tell Nicole about the coolest thing I saw that they're doing with F1 Academy.
And so now I'm like, okay, if you're seeing that like the value of your ticket price can stay there because you are doing things with multiple, like a feeder series and then like also like your main event series and stuff like that, like cool, sick, sure. Like, but you need to show me that. I need to see that value there, and being a person that wants to be there for the racing and not because, and look, and that's coming from, I love seeing what celebrities go to stuff, but mostly because the celebrities are at a thing that I care about, not because I care about the celebrities. It's like, they're at the thing,
Right. And so let's talk about some of the things that they've been doing. So the first thing that I've been seeing that I really love is that they are working directly with F1 influencers, with people who create content online, who if you are already an F1 fan, you're going to be seeing these people, and they are sponsored by the Miami GP this year to create content about attending the Miami GP. And this is the first kind of push I've seen from a race like this, where it's like, we're going to make a very intentional effort to work with content creators. And I've a lot of the creators I watch have been creating content. I think the content's been really fun.
Yeah. No, I've definitely seen a seems like a lot more pickup of like preparing to go to Miami and get ready with me, and this is what I'm doing, and like what, you know, all my plans and things. It seems like so much more hand in hand, which makes it, the thing about Miami was it felt so unattainable. And that is one of the biggest issues of being a fan of the sport, is when feeling there is not, like, there's that huge wall there. So even just having it be like the content creators that I know giving me the access, but then it's also showing me that the Miami GP social committee, whatever team, is recognizing and figuring out exactly who they should be communicating to. Like it's directing the, like, we need to, it's not about the who's the who. It's the people who's going to care about it and have the most, like, see the most value in this product.
Yeah. The second thing that I've seen a ton of this year is they've leaned into Guenther Steiner as their ambassador. And if you want to get the casual F1 American fan, he is the face and name to do it. So I think the first thing I pointed out was, like, here's how they're trying to get us. And probably you listening to Gridwalk right now. Like, that's how they're targeting us. Guenther is how they're targeting my mother, who's a big F1 fan, watches all the races with me, but get her to name more than 3 people, she probably can't do it. It's like Lewis Hamilton, Toto Wolff, Guenther Steiner. Is like, and she watches every race. So whatever they're paying him is well worth it, because not only are they making content around him, are they using him in all their ads, but they also had him do the media circuit. Guenther Steiner was on the Dan Le Batard show.
This was unbelievably crazy. Every time I thought this Guenther story could not get more insane. First off, the news had to break about Guenther departing from Haas, and someone woke up in Miami, had their cafecito, and called him immediately. Because that was the quickest turnaround announcement of, like, oh, this man's unemployed. We're going to get his butt to the 305 at Hard Rock Stadium to announce him as the race ambassador, which, again, for a race that's been going really into this, like, A-list, high class, like, oh, who's who pulling up in a Rolls Royce, that's not Guenther Steiner. That's not the vibe you go to.
Which is why I was like, oh, they made a shift, and I love it.
An obvious shift of, like, oh, we're going this way. We can't wait till next year to get him for this. Like, we're going to call him now and figure out how to incorporate this, because it is the perfect fit into, like, this shift that they're going into. Yes. And I can't imagine, like, what media they had planned without Guenther, because that just seems like such that perfect fit. And the Dan Le Batard show, that felt like someone walked into your simulation and was like, hey, let's, like, throw Guenther in this just to, like, make Briana, like, go through, like, a tizzy of, like, what do you mean?
Dan Le Batard interviewed Guenther Steiner on South Beach Sessions. That is the most confusing pairing of all time. And it was incredible. I loved every minute of that. But it's not that the Dan Le Batard show doesn't cover F1, because they do. It was the Guenther Steiner part of it. Like, it was, yeah, it was such a dramatic change in the best way of who they were talking to. Mm-hmm. The third thing they did that I loved is that, as leading up to the event, so much more than last year, they finally seem to be utilizing their, like, pit stop mascot crew. And they're sending them all over Miami, in not just to South Beach. Like, they're sending them to, like, get Cuban coffee, to hang out at the beach, but not South Beach Beach. Like, they're actually utilizing these characters they created in a fun way.
And the way that they're using them now is less like, ooh, cool pit stop crew, and more like fun.
Goofy fun, silly.
Like, goofy, like, oh, we're gonna do all these, like, things. Like, it's so much more the, like, silly, goofy vibe, for lack of a better term, than, like, the, like, look at us, Power Ranger, like, close the helmets and doing all the cool things, driving fast cars. Like, oh, no, we're driving fast cars, but we're also being, like, a little bit, we know how to have fun.
Right. And I think, if anything, F1 as a whole should have learned over the last 3 to 5 years is that you have to lean into the fun. Fun content is what brings in new fans. No one wants really, like, something that takes itself too seriously anymore. You don't create mascots for seriousness. You create mascots because they're goofy and silly, and I want to see Gritty and the Philly Fanatic just like running around with each other, and like that's what I want. I don't want like I'm too cool for this. Like that's don't have a mascot.
Cool mascots, especially groupings of mascots. I don't need a group of cool people to make me feel less cool. You want to give me a group of mascots to make me feel silly, goofy, fun time? Heck yeah, that's what I'll sign up for.
I'm going to be really intrigued if this shift in marketing and how they're presenting the race, at least going into the race, is going to help its ticket sales. And I will say right now that my hypothesis is if it doesn't, it's because it's still priced way too high.
Right. So then bring the prices down. We would like to go.
Right.
Thank you.
And I would be more than willing to buy a cheap general admission ticket. I don't need to buy a big grandstand ticket or something. But guess what I'm not doing? I'm not spending $1,000 to sit in the hot Miami sun in a grandstand. That's not happening. So, and I just spent 10 minutes talking about how this marketing strategy speaks to me. It makes me want to go to the Miami GP. I am the target audience. I love Miami. I love Hard Rock Stadium. I love F1. And I am willing to pay large amounts of money to go to sporting events. Just not that large amount of money.
Nope, not without a chair. And yeah, I'd love to support a good marketing campaign, but that value is still just not, you're just not lining up just yet.
All right, I alluded to this earlier in the episode. That Nicole was like, oh, I'm excited. I wonder if F1 Academy is doing something. And I was like, guess what? I already put something on the outline that we need to talk about because F1 Academy is doing a thing. We're recording this on Tuesday. This event is happening on Wednesday. You are all listening to this the earliest on Thursday. So when you're listening to this event has already happened. But the F1 Academy is putting together an event at a hotel on Miami Beach that is Sunset Pilates. And they brought in a influencer Pilates instructor. They're going to do a live podcast recording with For the Girls. They did a DJ set, and there's going to be multiple special guest appearances. I've seen multiple influencers who are already attending the Miami GP. And by influencers, I mean F1 creators.
Content creators.
Specifically women in the space talking about attending this event. And it is being sponsored by F1 Academy sponsors Charlotte Tilbury and Puma. And when this came up, as something that was happening, I could not think of a more perfect and female-focused event. And not that everything F1 Academy does needs to target women. I just feel like it's an underserved demographic in the space. This is an event that I think F1 should be putting on.
Yes, F1. If F1 was putting on this event, it would do very, very well. And I already know it's going to do very well being an F1 Academy event. The content created from this event, also you could just tell the aesthetic, the team F1 Academy just continues to know what they're doing and to continue having their support of Charlotte Tilbury and Puma across the board. And the through line from on track to the off track presence really just shows a united front altogether.
When Charlotte Tilbury was announced, you and I were like, I want to be able to go to the Miami GP and try makeup. I want to see makeup activations at my Grand Prix. We have talked at length on this podcast multiple times about how F1's fan base in America is particularly young women. And this is the first time I've seen an event put together specifically that's hi, this is for you.
Hello,
Guess
women.
What? This is an F1 event and it is for you.
Literally, For the Girls is going to be there for a live podcast.
Which is incredible. I think that's such a smart partnership to be doing that. And so it's just, I don't want this entire segment to just be me saying, this is so cool, but Nicole, this is so cool.
I mean, it's so cool, and it just really aligns, again, F1 Academy continuing to align with events and just their marketing overall to be reaching the right target audience. And so, this is such a great event of, girls in Miami that may be into F1 that maybe some of their friends aren't. And they're like, oh, well, you can come to, it's such great exposure of also showing not what your typical motorsports event could look like, but could really be bringing fans together in such a unique way. And it's cool that it's
this is how you grow the
Pilates
sport.
Event. It doesn't necessarily need to be oh, you're racing somewhere. It's no, you're doing Pilates in South Beach at a hotel in Miami. It's amazing.
Right. We talked earlier about how F1 is still trying to grow the sport. This is how you grow the sport. This is how you appeal to a demographic that already interested in what's going on and how you can, hey, bring a friend. If we were still living in Miami, we would definitely go to this, and we'd probably bring a bunch of our friends who aren't into F1.
Yep.
Yeah, just because they would think this event is cool. Like, I love anything that diversifies the type of activations happening. And then on top of that, calling back to something you just said, it's creating value for their sponsors. Like, how do you get sponsors to want to participate in things? Well, you create extra value for them. That could be something like you create content on social media, or you put on events like this that bring in eyeballs that are relevant to their target audience. You know what Charlotte Tilbury really cares about? They care about young women. You know what young women want to do? They want to do Pilates at a hotel on South Beach. To me,
with some of their favorite content creators.
Right. This is such a win for everyone involved. And I think it's great that F1 Academy is doing this, but F1 needs to be doing things like this, like doing more, creating more events for more types of people. That's how you grow your sport. That's how you create value for your shareholders.
Yeah.
I couldn't land that point. I tried really hard and I fumbled on shareholders.
No, you got it. But I mean, it seems F1 Academy is not slowing down with doing like these types of ramp ups and things. And I think as we continue to see them in the same racing in the same places as F1, that maybe F1 would be like, oh, some of these things are really kind of working. And then while F1 Academy is obviously learning things from F1 to integrate, I think they could also work vice versa as well. We could start seeing a little bit more of these events, and we see a lot of them led team by team, but seeing F1 do it overall would be really, really exciting.
This is only the second F1 Academy race of the season. So a reminder that we did a full season preview episode. So if you want mini bios of all the driver, a in-depth breakdown about how the points work and all the different sessions, it will be in the cards on YouTube, and we'll throw it in the description. You can also just search Gridwalk F1 Academy and you'll find it. But a rapid fire catch up if you just want a 2-minute crash course on how this weekend works. There's going to be 4 F1 Academy sessions. They get, there's going to be 5 F1 Academy sessions. Apologies. They get 2 free practices that are 40 minutes each. They're going to do a qualifying session. And then there are 2 races. Both of the races are 30 minutes long. In qualifying, the fastest lap that every driver does sets the grid for race 1. And the second fastest lap they do sets the grid for race 2. So you have to consistently put in 2 fast laps. The other thing you should know is that in addition to the normal points distribution, it is the exact same thing as F1 for both the races. The driver who takes pole positions will get 2 points for each pole they get and 1 point for fastest lap. So it's mostly the same point system as F1, but with that additional 2 points you can get awarded for pole.
And if you are wondering how and where you can watch F1 Academy, guess what? It's super easy. Wherever you watch F1 regularly. Crazy. Also, if maybe you watch it, in your regular spot and you want to try it somewhere else, you can also find it on YouTube. So much access for free. Free. You can watch F1 Academy for free. Really great to support. I know we will be watching. And you can there's so much additional coverage for F1 Academy throughout online and everywhere on all of their socials. And I'm sure it'll be ramped up for a whole bunch of things in Miami. But really easy to find it. Wherever you're already watching your racing, you'll be able to find it there.
Gridwalk's F1 Academy Race Weekend Draft.
Unlike F1, we do not make predictions for F1 Academy. We draft drivers. And whatever points the drivers get in the weekend, we get. So we're going to both draft 5 drivers in a snake fashion. And the only rule is that of our 5 drivers, only 2 of our drivers are allowed to be in the top 6 of the standings, to force us to not just go in standing order. Do a little thinking and research behind who we pick. Since Nicole is absolutely kicking my butt after race weekend 1, which I will point out, she would have been kicking my butt even if Doreen didn't get that penalty, but not by this much.
Yeah.
All of that being said. Yeah. But that means that I got to decide if I was picking first or second, and I decided to pick first and pick Doreen because she had an incredibly dominant first race weekend, and I would like all those points. Because if her race engineer just properly communicated to her, she would be winning this series by a good margin right now.
Yeah. It was an expected pick. I kind of knew that Durian was not going to be mine once again. But now, and then I just go, okay, because you're going to pick fourth, so I'll go back to back. So I'm going to ride with Abby and Bianca are going to be my next 2 picks.
That makes sense. Abby seemed to be the only driver on raw pace that really was competitive with Doreen throughout the weekend. I'm really intriguing to see if both of their dominance over the rest of the field continues throughout this
as
race.
we continue to get more and more races. And that's what's also really exciting, that we get the multiple rounds with F1 Academy. So it's kind of like you can see that, in one race weekend too. But yeah, you getting Doreen, I was like, I needed Abby.
Yep, that's fair. All right, so that means I get the next 2 picks. You left me Maya Wong, so I'm going to take her with my 4th pick. Now I have to start picking from lower down in the standings, and I am going to pick Hamda Alkabasi. She was 2nd in the standings last year. She didn't have the greatest start to her season, but I expect her to bounce back because she had such a strong first F1 Academy season. She understands the car because she's one of the returning drivers. So I'm gonna pick her.
I think that's a really good pick. I did have her high up on mine and had her in the last race as well. I was trying to go with both of the Kubasa sisters, but I could pick both of them. So now in my next pick, I'm like now forgetting how we snake draft. Do I do 2 again now?
Yep.
Am I doing 1, 2? Oh my God. I'm like we're telling at the end of the episode here, everyone. I'm going to go with my next pick, Carrie Schreiner. And I'm going to go with Jessica Edgar.
Both strong picks.
Oh, wait, I can't do that.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, no, top 6, not top half. I can do Jessica. Okay. Yeah, those are going to be my 2. Oh, the panic.
All right, with my final 2 picks here, I am going to pick... I'm going to pick 2 drivers that had very different race weekends in weekend 1. And I'll start with Haasman. So she was someone that I had no idea what to expect because she was one of the drivers coming in with almost no prior single-seater experience. She basically just made the jump up from karting. But I felt like I was very impressed with how level-headed she was through the weekend, and she was able to score some initial points. Her second race didn't go as well as her first race, but I was impressed. So I'm going to pick her. And then with my final pick, I'm going to pick one of the drivers that impressed me the most, but still ended up with 0 points. And that was Leah Block. So Leah had one of the most impressive paces right out of the gate. She has little to no single-seater experience, but she has a ton of racing experience. We talked about it in her bio, but she was a rally driver before this. Her pace was incredible. She just got unlucky and wasn't super experienced in the race, where she ended up crashing in places. So I fully believe that her pace is there if she could just convert that into points. So that's why I'm picking her with my final pick.
Dang. That definitely, because now I get one more.
Yep, this is your final pick.
I like mathemating this, and I definitely was going to have Leah as my last pick, but that's okay. And I will, if you took Hamda, I'm going to take Amna Kabasi, and we'll have both sisters on our side. Kind of similar. They both had like that experience last season and a little bit rougher start to this season, but I don't think we've seen the last of them. And again, it's only just the start of the year. So I'll take Amna as my last and final pick.
It is time for Gridwalk to attempt to predict an F1 race result with 0 on-track data. This will definitely go well. Gridwalk's race weekend predictions.
As in, you didn't do a ton of like upgrade research, or like in what way are you saying that you don't feel good about the predictions?
I don't know. I just kind of just feel like there's like this cluster middle in the mix. And then also with upgrades, like even when I'm like trying to read about who's bringing what, we're back in another sprint race. So then it's still like the one free practice. So I'm still like, okay, this could mean it makes a difference, or everyone could just get totally screwed on the setup and it just be fine.
Right. I believe that the teams that are bringing the biggest upgrade packages are McLaren and Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
At least that from what I've read. Yeah, sprint weekends are
so fun.
So fun. But I guess let's start there with our predictions. Staring into our magic balls.
Who do you have for, I guess we'll start P3 in the sprint?
Charles. I know that's not a unique, crazy, out there prediction in any way, but I still think Ferrari's the second fastest team. I think that at China, they had a rough time with the setup and just like didn't get it right, which happens. And I think they're going to be the second fastest team. Therefore, I put Charles P3.
And for all of the same reasons, I have Carlos. I'm short-circuited.
It was like,
and now I pressed it, and it'll play in the edit, but not in the thing.
All right, who do you have as P8 in the sprint? The last in the sprint points.
I have George Russell as P8, which, yeah, I just don't feel.
You don't feel good
about Mercedes.
That's fair. I went a different route, and I went to Nico Hülkenberg.
Oh, you feel super. I guess that makes now sprint race, Nico Hülkenberg, all of that lines up, that checks.
I'm 90% sure Briana editing put it on the screen if I'm wrong, that Haas is bringing upgrades. They've scored points in 4 of the first 5 races, so Haas has been strong. At this point, we can't make fun of them every week. They're consistently scoring points. Nico Hülkenberg's doing a great job. I just felt like, yeah, why can't he be P8?
He totally could be P8. That's not like the most out there heard of pick.
All right, let's move on to the normal Grand Prix.
Yes.
You want to go bottom to top like we did last time, starting with P11?
Sure. Which actually this bodes really well for me, so I can do my P11 first.
All right.
For P11, I have K-Mag. Haas is bringing upgrades this weekend, and I kind of feel like there's certain... for like literally the reason it was like, as I hear Briana going, I'm like, yeah. And I may feel that one Haas may do better than another Haas, but I feel like it could be close and could be some promising. So I have K-Mag in P11.
I could see that happening. Yeah. K-Mag has definitely been struggling in relation to Nico, so P11 feels right. I went a slightly different direction, and I said Alex Albon is just going to miss the points. Williams is also bringing an upgrade package. I feel like while Williams had a slower start to the year, I am so impressed that they've been able to still keep bringing upgrade packages, despite the fact that they also had to completely rebuild cars and they've crashed so many times. So I don't believe they're going to break into the points this week, but I am believing in the positive trajectory. So I think Alex Albon is going to be in that place he was for a lot of last year, where he could be competitive. He's just hanging on. As long as he has a good quality, it could work out.
My P10, I may have spoiled for myself. I have Nico Hülkenberg. I clicked it. There we go. Been finishing in the points. It would be very bold, I think, to assume a double Haas points this weekend, but I could see with Nico and where he's been finishing, P10 isn't unheard of here. So kind of where you're thinking for the sprint, I just went full in for Sunday.
Well, I also put Nico Hülkenberg as my P10.
Yeah.
No notes. Sense. Nothing additional to say. This is the most we've talked about Haas on the podcast in ages.
All right. And now P7, I have Fernando Alonso.
Me too. Yeah. I really think that this... Once you hit P7, we have entered the no one's going to break into the group. Like, we're in the no man's land. And I think this could equally be Aston Martin or Mercedes or McLaren every weekend right now. Like, who at this track is in the no man's land? And I don't know.
Here.
Yeah. So, the only thing that makes me hesitant to put Alonso there is that I think his qualifying form has been fantastic. And on a sprint weekend where things could go wrong, and I haven't checked the weather, that could really put a wrench in things, but I do think the Aston Martin in Alonso's hand will finish between P8 and P5. It's just like where in that range. So that's why I went with Alonso.
Yeah. I mean, and also, what if he just boycotts the sprint race entirely and then, like, is just in a different mindset?
I stand by what I said in that episode, which is that he should show up to the press conference in a shirt that just says, I hate sprint races.
Yes, I agree. Okay,
all right, who's your P5?
My P5, I have Oscar Piastri.
That's a much more reasonable pick than what I did, because I'm going positive vibes again and putting Lewis Hamilton in P5. I will do it until he gets a positive result and I'm not crying on a Sunday.
I like can't let myself predict him anything that I have to say out loud. Like it just, which is a positive and a negative all at once. I just can't do it.
Despite the fact that the one headline about the Mercedes upgrades is that they're not sure if they're going to work, I'm going to believe they're going to work and that Lewis will be in P5. Oh, man.
And my P3, I have Charles. I'm riding this one. Yeah. It's like
Charles Leclerc on the podium.
I just want it to happen so bad. I really felt like it was going to happen last time. I still just feel that, Mercedes is the fastest team here, and I think they'll just...
Mercedes?
Whoa! I meant to say Ferrari. Lewis has my brain all screwed up of where drivers are in different things, and obviously my brain is also not synapsing correctly at all today. Ferrari is, to me, still the second fastest team. Mercedes is not. And so I'm still kind of putting my eggs in that basket right now. We'll see.
It's the final lap, hitting every F1 garage. Get ready for this week's Yellow Sector Notes.
Before we get to our teams, we have a couple additional points this week, starting with some rumors that F1 is considering updating its point system, where they'll have points going all the way down to P12, starting as soon as next year. This is something we're going to read a little more about, and we might talk about next week or after the Miami GP. There was enough news to go through today. Also, before we get to the team rundown, some exciting F1 Academy news. So last year's champion, Marta Garcia, it's announced that she is going to be testing in the Open Rookie Formula E test this year. So good to see that she is getting attention in other racing circuits. Moving on to Red Bull, there is still no update or news on the sexual assault investigation into Christian Horner. I'm holding out hope that F1 will say or do something and not sweep this under the rug. But we will always continue to put out that we're hopeful that the victim is safe, surrounded by support, and taking care of themselves the best they can right now. And yes, this is going to continue to be the Yellow Sector Note for Red Bull because I don't feel like promoting anything they are doing. Moving on to Ferrari. So Ferrari, we said last week, announced their new title sponsor in HP. Well, they've now changed their name on social media channels to Scuderia Ferrari HP. Not the at, but like the name, which means that I spent all week thinking that their official account was a fan account. Let me know if you had the same issue. McLaren announced that they added eBay as a sponsor for all the American races and for Silverstone this year. Mercedes Junior and reserve driver Frederic Vesey will also be participating in that Formula E test. Aston Martin announced that they are going to be appealing the penalty that made Fernando Alonso very angry during the sprint race at the Chinese GP. The appeal is going to take place Friday morning, if you are listening before that, Friday of the Miami GP. And we are going to learn, again, whether the FIA understands that it can change results that it got wrong. Wait and see. Red Bull Jr. backed Daniel Ricciardo amid similar rumors that Liam Lawson might not be guaranteed a seat after all. I don't have any more to say about Haas, but we actually had a lot to say about Haas in our bonus episode, where we talked about everything Adrian Newey, but also everything about Nico Hülkenberg signing with Audi next year and leaving Haas. So go watch that episode. Yes, I keep plugging it, but that's just because it was a really good episode, and again, I had nothing else to say about Haas, so I don't know, go check it out. Williams sent not only Logan Sargent on a press tour leading up to his home race, but also Leah Block, who's their F1 Academy driver and also an American driver. Guess what? Alpine is no longer P10 in the constructors' standings, so they're next. They also are still very overweight, but they're excited that they're not quite as overweight with their recent upgrades. And last but definitely not least, Zhou Guanyu announced a partnership with McDonald's along with an incredible commercial from McDonald's China. And that's the grid walk for May 2nd, 2024 completed. How was my sector time today, Nicole?
Faster than my pulse after some cafecito.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Gridwalk. Thank you to our co-creators, Nicole Katz and Briana Klein. Thank you to our four-legged executive producers and me, voiceover man. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, turn on auto downloads, and leave a review to provide us with a fresh set of tires for the next week's show. You can follow us on social media at Gridwalk Show for daily content. We will be back to walk the Formula One grid every Thursday, and we will see you for the post-Gridwalk debrief in the comments.
Today felt like a grid. Oh my god, Taylor Swift might go to the Miami GP and like not a grid walk because Taylor Swift might go to the Miami GP.